There is nothing that demand that a complex character be convoluted. Convoluted doesn't mean complicated. Convoluted means so many things happening within the makeup of a character or a story that they end up competing with each other, needing far too much thought to make the pieces mesh together. Aside from that, convoluted can simply mean you have to ignore certain things or make up certain things in your mind to have them mesh. A lot of people say the stereotypical convoluted film would be Inception, because Inception has so many different aspects swirling around like the simple premise of we need to get to the third level of the dream, because you have time dilation, you have transformation, shape shifting, you have the Inception technique itself, you have all the different characters like bleeding out, you have limbo. It's that's what convoluted would mean, right? Like these elements that have to coexist, but it's so hard to keep them straight. You do not need that type of complexity specifically with the amount of things happening when it comes to just making a really good complex character, because usually all a complex character really means is that they have competing aspects of themselves that they are in war with, right? That was Zuko's whole thing. Zuko was all about his self-identity, but he didn't even realize what his self-identity meant. He thought he needed the love of his family and his father to be, accepted. But that's not what his self-identity ended up being. He needed the love of himself. He was always fighting for his pride, his honor, and he was at war with himself. That's literally why he got sick in season 2. And so you don't necessarily need Zuko didn't have a ton of things going on all the time in his life. It was always pretty much just like one conflict, but the conflict was central to him. He, I think, was written in a very sympathetic way that a lot of people could get invested in, because a lot of people have had horrible parents that pushed them to do things that they didn't want to do and live lives that they didn't want to lead. And they've had really sympathetic parents like Uncle Iroh, or like role models and figures that allowed them to make their own mistakes and allowed them to be who they were, flaws and all. And I think by Zuko being like a young man who is, again, for teenagers, so much of their lives in the teenage years is trying to construct and find your identity, that Zuko, really exemplified that type of person. But that didn't necessarily make him convoluted, and no character needs to be convoluted. Captain Jack Sparrow is a very complex character, I would say, and a very good character, but he's not convoluted. So that's what I think would be my answer to that, is that convoluted would simply mean so many different things are going on at once that it becomes hard to ascertain any one, I think, core type of thing. And not that convoluted characters can't be alluring in their own sense, but complex characters simply means the characters have aspects that are at war with each other. And I think that's at the heart of what really makes characters interesting and what gets us invested in them.